Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, here's Jim Coyle.
Happy Friday! It's Friday, people. You made it. And not only is it Friday, it is going to be a spectacular one, at least partially, unless you get caught in some rain, a little chance of rain. But right now, or early, it's sunny midday. So, got to enjoy it. Plus, it's going to be 70-something degrees. Jeez, love it. I see a cigar in my future, baby, outside. So, looking forward to that. Glad to be with you as always. Happy to have you with me as always. But and happy Friday. Looking forward to Alec Lasley stopping by, in addition to Mr. Bill Bender and Zach Osterman. So plenty to get to. Glad to have each and every one of you along, no matter where and how you're listening. We appreciate you. It's the last weekend of the regular season in college basketball. So a lot of important games for people. Obviously, Indiana heading to Columbus to take on the Buckeyes in a game that has importance. Obviously it has importance, but also great importance for Indiana, but also for Ohio State. I think that they're locked in. They're a lock no matter what. They have done well here of late, and they have boosted their chances without question. They're as a matter of fact, they've moved up to what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're 8th in the Big Ten. Solidly in the tournament. Their overall record, 19-11. Just one game better than Indiana. But in the conference, they're 11-8 as opposed to 9-10. Big 3-game swing difference there, so that matters. Indiana right now would be the last Big Ten team to get in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There you go. The 10. I don't see 11 getting in now, especially with USC. Just they're 18-12. They're 7-12 in the conference. We'll see. That's what makes it fun. But Iowa definitely in. Of course, Michigan State, Nebraska, Illinois, Purdue, Wisconsin, UCLA, Ohio State, Iowa. Those are the Big Ten teams that are locks. They're locks without question. Then you've got Indiana. So, there you go. Yes, exactly. Hope all you fellow jabronis are doing well. Couldn't have said it better myself. Hope you're having a great day. It's great to be here. As always, it's great to know that we're heading towards spring, baby. But we've got the NCAA tournament ahead of us first. And baseball started. For all the baseball fans out there, I know J.D. Campbell will be just loving this as we get into it over the summer. But there's a lot coming up. The month of May is not that far away either. So there's so much that just continues with the in the world of sports. So gotta love that. And I do love it all, each and every bit of it. and looking forward to taking it all in, man. Taking it all in. UNC star Caleb Wilson is not cleared for the Duke return. Nolan Richardson's statue to be built in Arkansas. And here's something. The NCAA is going to impose penalties for tournament availability report violations. For the NCAA tournament, all of these player availability reports have to be sent out. And different than, I think they're a little further reaching than the normal ones. Financial penalties will be imposed on schools that do not follow the new player availability report process in the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournaments. The NCAA noted on Wednesday. For the first time, teams will be required to submit player availability information for NCAA tournament games. If a school does not abide, and the dude abides, if the school does not abide by the process, it will face potential fines, man. Well, we all know the dude abides, so there should not be any fines. A first offense will result in a penalty of up to 10 grand. A second offense, 25, and a third offense is 30,000 for the school and 10,000 for the head coach. All penalties will be assessed after the tournament. For this year's tournament, teams must submit an initial report to the NCAA by 9 p.m. local time the night before a game and provide an update 2 hours prior to scheduled tip time. There will be 3 designations: available, questionable, or out. Players not listed as questionable, which is up to a 75% chance of playing, or out, are assumed to be available. Player availability reports have become required in the 5 major conferences over the past few seasons, with the ACC, Big 12, and SEC posting their initial reports the night before a game, and the Big East and Big 10, they wait till 2 hours before, which is basically nonsense. You basically don't have one. The 2 hours before, that's ridiculous to me. I mean, that's basically just telling them at the time. So, yeah, we'll see how that works out. How about Bobby Hurley? Downplays his future after Arizona State upsets Kansas. While, they stormed the court after beating Kansas, chaos is surrounding Bobby Hurley, a coach known for his fiery sideline demeanor, of course. Brother of his coach's his brother is the coach at UConn. No fist bumps, no shout to joy. Even it might have been if his final home game, just a coach proud of the way of his team played. He doesn't know if he's got a job. I don't think it's me. I really don't, Hurley told reporters after this Arizona State 76 win over number 14, Kansas. I know it could be a nice little storyline or something, but I really believe this is who they are. We lost our way for a few weeks and had a hard time winning some games in a very difficult league, but we picked ourselves off the mat, and I think we're playing as good as we have at any point in the season. Yeah, he's looking at whether or not he's going to have a job. So, I get it. He's been out there for a bit, and he's been through a lot of stuff out there, man. There was some stuff with his wife, not of her making. It was just been weird. So, we shall see. How about Bennett Sturts? Remember this kid? He plays at Iowa now. And doing very well. But we first saw him as in the NCAA tournament as just a lower level player. Now that's what the transfer portal is great. These guys that were either overlooked or have vastly improved go from these much smaller schools to bigger schools. And I know people go, say, well, what about the little schools? Well, they weren't going to do anything to begin with. What the hell were they going to do? So, and you're holding the guy down. So, love seeing that. He's listed as like the second best transfer in of basketball this year. I'm looking to see where Lamar Wilkerson is, because he's got to be in there, but I've yet to see him. Malik Renew listed at number 9 to Miami. Renew has established himself as one of the most efficient low post scorers, had in the Big Ten during his 3 seasons in Indiana, but has expanded his game since transferring to the Hurricanes. He's averaging a career high in scoring at nearly 20 points a game, 6.5 rebounds a game, and 57% field goal shooting, while also making more threes this season than he did during his seasons in Bloomington combined. Renew was a lock for first team All ACC. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. What would you think they could have used his talents? Indiana? Yeah. That's one that should have been. Again, why wasn't somebody looked at? Why weren't conversations had? That's a question I do have. To my knowledge, there were just no conversations had with people. Coaches, it was just weird. So, hey, we've got Alec Lasley coming up next. Let's take a break. Plenty more happening. Appreciate you being with us on this great Friday. Back with more right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave & Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our all-new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch all your team's wins on a 40-foot screen and 30 HD TVs. And level up with the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game. Private game suites, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's on 731 South College Mall Road.
Indiana football accomplished what no other team ever has. Big Ten, Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, and CFP national champions. The Hoosiers have etched their name into the history books as the first 16-0 team in the modern era. A limited edition of only 5,000 commemorative national championship footballs has been released. 3 full panels embossed and stamped with every championship logo and fully licensed. Get your piece of history today at NicoSports.com. That's NIKCOSPORTS.com.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. Jim Coyle with you as always. Glad to be here and glad to have you along. Joined now by Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com as we head into the last weekend of the college basketball regular season. But that just is lighting the lamp, so to speak. Alec, as we head into the tournament, and for those of you that are going to be around this weekend in Bloomington, head out to Dave & Buster's to watch the game. Got those 3 gigantic wall TVs and big screens all around. You can turn the kids loose on half-price games, sit at the bar, have a great time. Something what Alec Lasley would do. What's up,
and
brother?
Yourself. And yourself. I feel like what game would be your go-to at Dave & Buster's?
Oh, you mean to play?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
great question.
I mean, we see. I obviously you'd be at the bar, but if you had to go play a game, what would that?
You've always got skee ball.
Yeah,
that's kind of boring. I'm not a big skee ball fan. They got you got the basketball game.
Yeah.
What I actually my favorite would be like racing, where you sit down and you actually race.
Yeah,
I love that stuff. Yeah, that would be. What about you?
Yeah, probably the any of the racing or
really.
I would definitely go. Yeah, I would.
Are you a racing fan?
It's kind of one of the one of the more engaging games, though. Right. I mean, you're not just like standing actually on the, on the kind of machine itself.
Yeah. I guess there's always those little dance boards with the colors. Are you a racing fan?
No, not really.
I didn't think so.
You kind of have to be a little bit when you live in Indiana, right? I mean,
well, I just meant,
no, never really grew up around racing at all.
Yeah, I hear that. What about baseball? Who's your baseball team?
I mean, baseball, this season's too long.
Does that mean you don't have a team?
Yeah, no, I mean, look,
everybody has a baseball team, man.
Not really. I mean, if I had to pick one, I would say the Tigers, just due to the fact that I lived 13 years in Michigan. But outside of that, they're just was always drawn more to football and basketball and then golf. So, I mean, those are the 3. Never really, outside of a couple years, right? The Tigers were never really very good. And then obviously
but they are right now.
Well, they are right now, but you had the kind of the mid to late 2000s.
They had a stretch. They were good back in the day. Then they were good again. How's your golf game?
Well, I mean, it's probably pretty bad right now since I haven't been able to go out and play much, but looking forward to getting back out there. I mean, the weather should be nice.
I probably haven't swung a club in 5 months.
Probably the same for me. I mean, it's not like the weather's been conducive to it.
Well, it's not that far off now, baby. It's going to be 74 degrees today, and there will be plenty of people out golfing. Plenty of people out golfing right now. I guarantee it. Hell, taking off lunch. Hey, I was just talking about the ESPN's list of top transfers. Number 2, or number 1 and number 2 into the Big Ten. Yaxel Linden Cyborg at Michigan, number 1, of course. Dusty May doing the deal. But then Bennett Sturts at Iowa. Boy, it's that's what I love about the transfer portal. Guys like Bennett Sturts, who we saw in who did he play for in the NCAA tournament? Do you remember?
Last year, you're saying?
Yeah, before he went to Iowa. Anyway, we saw him, in a lower level team, but now he got to step up, and I think that's one of the great things about the transfer portal.
Well, yeah, I mean, he came with Ben McCollum from Drake, but the year before that, I think it was like a D2 school, Northwest Missouri or something like that. But I mean, look, I mean, it's the great thing about Bennett Sturts is he's, that Iowa team is not super talented. And he's pretty much, I mean, it's almost a reflection kind of what Lamar Wilkerson's done, right? With Indiana. I think you both, you can look at both of those guys and, you take both of those players off each of those teams. And I mean, you're struggling for wins. Obviously two coaches that, Indiana was obviously involved with, and a lot of fans wanted Ben McCollum. I think, at the end of the day, both of these coaches have had a very similar path this year. You could say Iowa probably, a little bit more successful, but not a ton in the whole grand scheme of things. They had the one head-to-head matchup, and obviously they beat the brakes off of Indiana here in Bloomington. But outside of that, it's they built their roster roughly kind of the same. A lot of mid-major guys who maybe either came up through JUCO, played mid-major basketball the majority of their careers. They have a couple more freshmen involved in that roster than what Indiana has, but it's two rosters that have been built on upperclassmen transfers and guys who have been around for a while. So it's a very similar path. But yeah, I mean, you look at the Big Ten in general. I mean, I think they've, outside of Purdue, most of these teams have done a relatively good job of bringing in, I would say, pretty impactful transfers. I think you look at, Michigan State maybe being the one that, tends to be more on the Purdue side of really being able to develop guys. One thing that Tom Izzo always does really, really well, though, is get one or two key pieces from the transfer portal that maybe aren't high impact players that play specific roles, that are just kind of plug and play guys into that lineup. I mean, we saw what Caleb Glenn did kind of early in the season before he suffered a season-ending injury. So he's been able to get some of these key pieces that just fit perfectly with the rest of that roster. Purdue obviously tends to go more of the homegrown route, and I think whether or not you want to be, an Indiana fan and be excited about kind of what could be the next few years with Purdue and kind of the probably inconsistent next few seasons, just due to the fact that, they lose Braden Smith, they lose Fletcher Lawyer, Trey Kaufman-Wren's gone, Oscar Clough's gone, right? They don't have, I would say, a ton of excitement around that program moving forward. And I think the last year and a half has really kind of sucked a lot of the life out of that team as well. We'll see kind of what they do, but they're going to have to adjust and go more into the portal. And I think, obviously, we see what Indiana is going to have to do again next year too, heavily in the portal as well. So it's that's the name of the game. And if you miss, you're going to be struggling to make the postseason. And if you do a really good job, right, you're going to be like Michigan, who's led by 4 transfers, even 5. You go back to Namari Burnett, the other starter in that group. Obviously, did not transfer in last year, but started his career elsewhere. At Alabama, and then transferred went to Texas Tech as well, right? So he's been around the block. It's almost rare to find a starting 5 that has had, multiple years at the same program nowadays. And so it's all about building through the transfer portal and what you can do in 8 months to develop a lot of these guys to then take that to the next recruits in the portal and have that be your recruiting pitch.
Yeah, I was going through, before you joined us, I was going through, like I said, the ESPN's top transfers, and I noticed at number 9 was Malik Renew at Miami, who has increased his production and, ironically, man, oh man, would this have been a perfect fit for what Indiana is missing? So that's that. I'm a big miss, but I'm not blaming the staff per se because I don't know how that went. I think what happened was they were gone before he really had a chance to do anything, and it was. I think that's part of this problem is that entire team left without. There was not going to be any conversations with the incoming staff. It seemed to me.
I think it was both ways too, right? I don't think a lot of those players wanted to stay after kind of what went down the previous 2 seasons. I think also, right, you look at Malik Renew, just for instance, it's not him going, to a totally out of the blue program. I mean, he's from Miami. He goes back home. I don't think necessarily that was a huge surprise. You go to a first year head coach, which I think maybe was probably a little bit, I don't want to say a risk per se, but a very modern style of play with a lot of athletes on the floor. I mean, Miami's been one of, I think, the surprise teams in the country, not just the ACC, and what they've been able to do this year with an entirely new team. A lot of freshmen in the rotation as well, but a lot of guys who are on their second, third, fourth stops as well. I mean, they have Trey Donaldson from Michigan of last year, who Michigan kind of pushed out to get Elliot Cadeau, right? So a lot of moving pieces last offseason for Indiana, and I don't think the staff wanted a lot of the guys who were there previously, and I don't think a lot of those guys wanted to go through in another season at Indiana either. And I think it worked out for the best. I don't know. One, you wouldn't have had the season that Lamar Wilkerson's had with Malik Renew. You wouldn't have had the season that Malik.
Yeah, that's the thing. I talk about that, but one would take away from the other. He couldn't do what he's doing with what is going on around him. But then now that is what I have to ask. Then with Indiana, they don't have a guy that can do that in the middle. But with how they run the offense, I wonder how much would they use him?
Exactly.
Would they be able to find that balance? Because part of the issue I do have currently with them is, boy, they take some dumb shots sometimes. They don't take smart shots. With everybody having a green light, okay, that's fine. But you should have to take a good shot with a green light no matter what. And if you don't, you need to get the hook and say, hey, be sat down. And I keep going over one single play that happened recently with, daggone it. I don't know if it was Nick Dorn or, Miles. But anyway, it was 7 seconds so into the shot clock, and the ball came up court real quick, and he takes a corner three, which I'm like, what the hell are you doing? The team's not even down there, nothing's set up. And it's just things like that that's really gone into part of them not being a complete team. And that's what is, we talk about being able to look at just a couple games here and there, the Nebraska game, of course, the Northwestern game, the Minnesota game on the road, all 3 of those games. None of those should have been losses. And those 3 games alone, that changes Indiana's schedule or season so much. It puts them right in the middle of where anyone's expectations could have possibly have been.
Yeah. I mean, look, if the biggest thing, and I wrote about this after Wednesday's game, is the ability to finally put together a full 40-minute game. I mean, that has been the one thing holding, this team back the entire season. They've played 30 great minutes. They've played 35 great minutes. I mean, you go to the UCLA game, that game should have never been in overtime. You're up 10 with a minute and a half left, and they lose the 10-point lead and obviously almost lose that game in overtime and almost in double overtime, right? They were down by 15 to 18 points against USC twice or 3 times in that game, come back to make it 2 possessions. And, same thing with Michigan State on Sunday, right? They were down by double digits for a lot of that game, somehow got their way back to 5 points before a couple big threes for Michigan State. The thing though about this team is it's hard to say, right? Because at some point you need to be able to win these games. And the one thing that I keep going back to though is and I wrote about this earlier in the week, if not towards the end of last week, right? You talk a lot in college basketball about quote unquote veteran players, right? And how you need to have a veteran team to win big games. You need to have a veteran team to win games in March. And I think the point there is accurate, but the wording is not. You need to have a veteran team that has won before, right? A lot of these guys have not won. And that's the difference, right? You need to have a winning.
Actually, I thought that was the opposite of what these guys were brought in. That was said about them.
They've won, but not at this level and not in pressure-packed moments. And
they hadn't played at this level.
And not in pressure-packed moments. I mean, these are all pressure games. These are all must-wins. These guys did not have – a lot of these guys, the only shot that they were going to have to make it into the NCAA tournament was to go into the conference tournament and win. So really, you only have to be – hot for 5 days, right? Or 4 days. A lot of these teams have not had bubble type games where they have to win or they have to learn how to win. They just haven't had pressure packed moments. You look at this roster, Tucker DeVries has played 2 games in the NCAA tournament. Connor Enright's played 2 games in the NCAA tournament. Sam Alexis has played 1 minute in the NCAA tournament. Everyone, right? You want to talk about Sam Alexis coming in with an NCAA championship. He played 1 minute in the NCAA tournament last year. Right. So a lot of these guys have had Tatum Conaway's played 1 game. Outside of those 5, no one else has sniffed the NCAA tournament. So you have a lot of guys who don't know what it's like to get down into critical moments and have to make key winning plays. And I think that's the biggest downfall of this roster. You have a ton of veteran guys. You've guys that have played 5 years of college basketball, have started for 3 consecutive seasons, have played over 100 games. Right? That's great. That's going to take you so far. But in order to really take that next step, you have to put together a roster that has been there before and that knows what it takes to win these games. Because if you have 1 or 2 extra guys who just have a couple extra games of experience in the NCAA tournament or in winning conference tournaments, I guarantee you Indiana has 2 more wins just due to that experience. And that's why a lot of people want to say, oh, well, they're an old team. That's great. You can be old, but have no experience in certain moments. And that's what this team has. And that's the biggest downfall. And I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of changes, obviously, going into next season. But that's one thing you're going to see this staff really prioritize is going after guys who have been specific role players in those moments or been the guy in that moment. To be able to take that experience and bring it here, because you can't just have old players in college basketball anymore because the game has changed so much. You used to be able to do that, right? Because these guys would have had 4 years together, and then that's a different variable. But these guys have had a couple months together, so that's not super helpful in this environment. You need to have guys who know what it takes to win big games. And that's just not what this roster has. And that's the key difference between a lot of these quote unquote veteran teams. You can have a sophomore who started in NCAA tournament games for his first 2 years and have loads more experience than a 5th-year guy, right? Because they've been in those pressure-packed moments. And that's one thing that Indiana doesn't have. And that's why they've lost some of these games, because I do think they are – and a lot of people probably are going to disagree with this, but I think they're well coached enough. I think they have enough talent to win some of these games, but that's one variable that has really limited this team from taking the next step. And those winning plays probably would have won that Nebraska game. Those winning plays probably would have won that Northwestern game. Those winning plays probably wouldn't have been able to get down 16-0 to Louisville to start. It wouldn't have allowed a 19-0 run to Michigan State, right? So there's so many different aspects that come with guys who have won at high levels before in this type of pressure-packed environment. And you can say that the moment has just been too big for a lot of these players on this Indiana team, and that's because they haven't been in this pressure-filled environment from a program standpoint, but just from a season standpoint, especially going into the back half of February. And that's where the biggest downfall was, because after that 4-game winning streak, winning 5 out of 6, right? Indiana was firmly in the NCAA tournament. They could have gone 500 the rest of the way and been fine. And you throw up a goose egg over the next 4 games, and then obviously have one of the more embarrassing losses here to Northwestern. So I think you go back to that, and that's the one variable that has really been the downfall for this Indiana team, because I do think this staff is light years ahead of what the previous couple staffs were from an X's and O's standpoint. One, they just don't have the type of skill set that's been able to elevate, which we've talked about. But I do think this team is talented enough to make the NCAA tournament because they've been there for 30, 35, 39 minutes in multiple big-time games. It's not like it's been 1 or 2 games this year. I mean, there have been 6 or 7 where midway through the second half, they're tied or within a possession or leading against ranked teams or NCAA tournament teams. And again, the winning plays, the pressure-packed moments, this group just has not been a part of, and that's why they've lost a lot of these games, and that's why you're sitting here with 1 game left, needing to go on the road to Ohio State to face Bruce Thornton, who is 12 points away from becoming Ohio State's all-time leading scorer, a guy who's never been in the NCAA tournament before, a fan favorite in college basketball, and trying to knock him off on senior day. That's a difficult task, but one they're obviously going to have to do if they want to make the NCAA tournament.
No question about that. Lamar Wilkerson will be leading the way. He was, I was talking about those transfers, and he was listed as a few rungs down below that, like I think the 11th most sought after transfer. He's going to, no question, be. I wonder if he's going to be All-American. He's leading the Big Ten in scoring. I mean, when's the last time Indiana had a player that led the Big Ten in scoring? I mean, I've got to open the record books and quickly think back, and that's going to, it may have to go back, way back. I'm trying to run my mind right now, but
well, it's going to be the highest scoring total in Big Ten games for an IU player since McGinnis. So, I mean, that's obviously dating a lot.
I'm just thinking Calvert Chaney or somebody, but even he didn't score that many points per game. But yeah, but he's not a one-man band, and we saw some production. We've seen, you know what, I've got to take a break. I didn't hit that break. So let me take that break, and we'll come back and talk about more as Indiana heads to Columbus this weekend, looking to save their tournament life, although I still think they're in at the moment, as crazy as it sounds, just because it's a weak bubble. We'll talk more about that. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com with On 3 is with me now. We're back with more right after we take this break.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games every Sunday through Thursday, a new menu to dig into, and next-level upgrades like private game suites, the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington, 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you. As always, it's Friday, baby. Happy Friday. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com with On 3 with me now. And Indiana heads to Columbus this weekend. Their tournament life kind of in the balance, so to speak. If they lose this game, I still don't think they're out. I still think they have a shot to go to Chicago and win 2 games there. And if they win 2 games in the Big Ten tournament, I think that they wind up in. It's a very, very weak bottom right now, as it was last year. And again, we can go on about Charlie Baker and that jackleg crew saying that there needs to be more teams when there absolutely doesn't. That's a whole different story. But, Indiana, I talked yesterday, Alec, that I read this from Evan Miyakawa, and, his stuff is pretty good. But a team's success is set before the season. 80% of its success is determined by its roster evaluation before the season starts. So when the season started, we kind of knew what this Indiana roster was. We knew where they were going to be deficient in the middle. We didn't know they were going to be this deficient, but it's turned out like we thought it would. So I don't think that there should be a lot of the people jumping on Darren DeVries. I'm like, y'all need to back off, man. And trust me, if anybody's going to say what they think, it's me. But this is not, just chill out. I think Reed Bailey was just misevaluated, and you don't get Josh Harris, and I think that hurts.
I don't think Reed Bailey was misevaluated. I think and Darren DeVries has talked about this, right? If Reed Bailey's playing the 4, I think things massively change. If you have Josh Harris, not that Josh Harris is going to be a 25-minute a game, double.
But he doesn't have to be.
No, exactly. But if you have him in the rotation, that allows a lot more versatility from your front court, because now you actually have the ability to play 2 bigs. And Sam Alexis and Reed Bailey in the front court together, I think would have been a very formidable duo. It's not going to blow anyone out of the water, right? But Reed Bailey's versatility and skill set against 4s is what was so eye-opening and appealing from a roster addition perspective. And you don't have that at the 5 because he's not big enough to play the 5. Now you can go back to, okay, well, this staff should have added, 2 additional bigs then, instead of just, the 1 additional on the bench with potentially Josh Harris. And right, I think you can make a very strong case for that. And I don't think you're going to get anyone, especially not me, to disagree with that. But I think you have to, take all of the context and put it together, where Reed Bailey was not supposed to play the 5 for 15, 20 minutes a game. Could he play spot minutes there? Absolutely. But that's one thing that I wish Darren DeVries, if I'm going to nitpick or be critical of certain situations, I think there are certain times where he could have tried the 2 big lineup. Because if you're not getting anything out of Nick Dorn, there's no reason to have him on the floor. Let's be honest. If he's not hitting shots, he provides nothing from a playmaking perspective. He provides nothing from a defensive perspective. You could easily go, Connor Enright, Lamar, Tucker, Reed, Sam. And I think that provides a lot more versatility from a rebounding standpoint with a much bigger lineup. And I think you have a couple different mismatches that you can create with Reed Bailey at the 4. And we saw what he could do as a mismatch problem. We saw that in the first matchup against Purdue. We saw the ability for him to slip every single high ball screen against Purdue's 2 big lineup that forced Purdue to go to 1 big in the second half. So we saw it against Kansas State. Now, obviously, Kansas State is nowhere near in the same category, right, as Purdue or some of these other Big Ten teams. But we saw his ability against high major competition to provide different mismatches for Indiana's offense. That was playing more, though, against a team that had two bigs. That was playing against a team, though, that had maybe a little bit of a smaller four or a more slower front court, where Reed Bailey could take advantage of some of his quickness and some of his ability from an athleticism standpoint. But he's not strong enough to finish in the paint against these bigs and these fives in the Big Ten. And so that's one thing that, I really think it's a difficult spot to be in with him. It's a difficult spot to be in with this roster because he was forced to play out of position. You're seeing Tucker DeVries play the 4, which is not his position, right? So you're seeing a lot of different guys trying to make up for some of the, inefficiencies and indeficiencies with this roster. And I think the one positive, though, that you can take as a fan watching this team, more so listening to Darren DeVries, is, look, this staff is fully aware of what they need to change going into next season. Darren DeVries has talked multiple times now about the ability to have multiple big guys at his disposal is something that they need to have, not just 6'8", 6'9" kind of bruisers, but length at the 5 position. He's talked about that now 3 or 4 times over the last 2 months. This staff knows that they need playmakers, more one-on-one playmakers on the perimeter, which they don't have. And if you don't have, one of those things, that's okay. If you don't have both of those things, that's when you really struggle to create a lot of good offense and create some transition opportunities with potentially defense into offense and rim protection with that athleticism at the 5. But look, I think everyone's aware at what this roster was. Everyone's aware, midway through Big Ten play, what this roster was going to be. It's unfortunate that you didn't get the full bodies with Josh Harris, even Jason Drake at times as a spot combo guard coming off the bench. But yeah, the injury to Josh Harris definitely derailed a lot of what this offense and defense, the system was supposed to be from a rotational standpoint, because he's a crazy athletic leaper, a guy who could provide some rim protection, but more importantly, a guy who could provide a lot of additional opportunities as a lob threat and offensive rebounder to provide a couple more opportunities there with that front court. But look, Sam Alexis has played great. I think if there's, outside of Lamar Wilkerson, right, if there's one additional player that I think Indiana fans really wish they had more years of, would be Sam Alexis. The energy that he plays with, I think, makes up for a lot of what that front court's not able to do. But yeah, I think the Reed Bailey, he catches way too much flack, and I think that's difficult to put on him because he didn't come here trying to play the 5.
The booing is unbelievably, ridiculously stupid. Anybody that boos a home player for just because they don't particularly like them for whatever, that is the biggest insult, and it should be embarrassing. I know it's embarrassing to some fans, but it should be completely embarrassing to anybody that is there at the game. It's ridiculous. And I saw Dan Dockets talk about this, and he talked about it, being a lot to do with the East Coast students. And well, IU does have more out-of-state students than in-state students, for one thing. So it is a little different in that regard. But yeah, that booing is absolutely uncalled for, and it is disgusting. And anybody that does it should have their ticket revoked in this regard. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, look, 100%. I thought that was disgusting. And look, let's be honest. It was a lot of the students spearheading that. And I think, I don't want to spend too much time talking about it because I don't want to, give any more attention to it than what it deserves.
Exactly. I just wanted to address.
No, I know, I agree. But it is something that it's just look. And again, you wonder all the time why some players don't want to come here and some coaches don't want to come here. I mean, I don't know many times where fans and students are booing the home team from a player standpoint, right? I mean,
For no reason, just because they don't. I don't even know what is their reason for booing.
Because he struggles to finish and make some decisions that probably aren't great. But I mean, you can make the case with almost everyone on this roster outside of
hell yes. Every bad shot is the same thing. Every bad shot falls into that category.
Yeah, and that's why, like I said, it's difficult to see. I think, right? I mean, some students were wearing a "We Love Reed" T-shirt on senior night, but look, I mean, I don't think that's not going to make up for kind of the outrageous behavior that they had the game before. And this has been, boiling over for multiple weeks now, where the students and the fans have, really struggled to kind of come around on Reed Bailey. And I think it's a tough spot again for him to be in, because this is not his position. This is not what he, was meant to come in here and play. So it's a tough place to be in, but we're there now. So hopefully he can, make some big plays here down the stretch, and not that he probably really cares at this point about what the fans have to say. But hopefully get a couple of those guys turned on his side here to wrap up his college career.
Well, he plays just like everybody else in this team. This team has played hard, right?
Yeah, that's why. Look, I mean, that's why when you look at some of these graphics about what was expected this year, what expectations were, you flip a couple games, right? They probably have maybe 2 more wins again than what you have now. But this was never going to be a team that was going to go, 23, 24 wins on the season. They were going to be right around, 19, if not maybe squeeze out 20. But I think 20 was the max and kind of the cap that they could get. They just needed to get into the tournament. And then again, once you get into the tournament, who knows what happens. I still think, right, you see multiple teams that struggle in the regular season get hot at this time of the year. And I'm not saying that this group is going to go on like a Syracuse run of getting in the first 4 and then go into the Final Four. I'm not saying this team's going to be the UConn, right, where they win the Big East tournament with Kemba and Shabazz Napier and then go on to win the national championship, or even NC State of a couple years ago where they win 5 games in 5 days in the ACC tournament and then go to the Final Four, right? But I am saying that this is a team that I don't think a lot of opponents want to face on 1 day of rest, because their ability to get hot is something that they can still lean on. And if you get hot in this next game with Ohio State, you go into the Big Ten tournament with 2 wins. You're probably going to play a Northwestern, right? Assuming you can get by Northwestern, which again, they were up by double digits on. Assuming you can get by Northwestern, that gives you 3 wins in a week. You're probably going to have some momentum offensively. Then you go play potentially UCLA, right? Now you may get a little bit more steam, but this is just a team that if they start to hit some shots, right, it's difficult to defend. I think the one big thing is whether or not they're going to be able to get Nick Dorn going. If they get Nick Dorn going, I think this is a team that can actually win some games in the Big Ten tournament further down the line with his ability to bring a third shooter. And opens up so much more for the offense outside of a quote unquote decoy that really, he hasn't been able to do really anything of note over the last month of play. But if he's able to do that, I think this team can make some noise. If he's not, right, this is a team that I think maxes out after, maybe 1 or 2 wins in the Big Ten tournament, and you're kind of holding your breath. I think they have to win Ohio State, win their first round game in the Big Ten tournament. And then I still think they have to win against UCLA. If UCLA stays in that, I think it would be the 7 spot, or the 6th spot, whatever that, the 6 or 7 spot, I think is what UCLA would be in that quarterfinal game on Thursday if Indiana were to win. So we'll see what happens, but I definitely think they need to win on Saturday if we want to have any conversation going into the Big Ten tournament.
Most likely, you don't want to put your fate in someone else's hands. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com. Make sure you go there. Get a national subscription, man. That's got a great deal right now at thehoosier.com, but either way. Appreciate you, sir, as always.
Appreciate it, Jim. Have a good one.
You as well. Hey, we've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle. We've got Zach Osterman and our friend Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Back with more right after these messages.
Indiana football accomplished what no other team ever has. Big Ten, Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, and CFP national champions. The Hoosiers have etched their name into the history books as the first 16-0 team in the modern era. A limited edition of only 5,000 commemorative national championship footballs has been released. 3 full panels embossed and stamped with every championship logo and fully licensed. Get your piece of history today at NicoSports.com. That's NicoSports.com. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave and Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our all-new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch all your team's wins on a 40-foot screen and 30 HD TVs. And level up with the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game. Private game suites, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's on 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. Glad to be here and glad to be here with you as it is a pretty nice looking spring day out there. Zach Osterman hopefully joining us here in a little bit to see what his viewpoint on things are right now as we head into this weekend. Indiana closing out, not only Indiana closing out their regular season, but everybody closing out their regular season as the teams will be locking things up as they head into the Big Ten tournament next week. Zach Osterman, let's see, let me grab him again. Sorry about that. Zach, I think I got you now. You there?
Yeah, no, it's my computer. I don't know what's going on.
That's all right. We're good.
I try to turn on the camera. It turns off everything. So
we don't worry about that. I can hear you clear and fine. That's all that matters, brother. I'm sure, like I always say, I'm sure people would prefer not to have to see my face. But this weekend, big weekend for everybody, a lot of teams going in with chances to change their NCAA fortunes. Of course, Indiana, one of those, and it's a tough task. Ohio State playing very well right now, Zach. They're a lock for the tournament, but they're playing well. They've got a win over Purdue recently, and they've moved up to 8th or 7th or 8th in the conference, which is a nice little move. Indiana can, I won't say secure a spot, but they would sure put a lot of doubt behind if they could get a win on the road in Columbus.
Yeah, we're at the annual point where somebody needs to explain to me quite why the metrics love Ohio State the way they do. It feels like
So lost Zach there for a minute. We'll get him reconnected. He's having technical problems today, but that's all right. We'll keep on flying. You know, until we get him back, I was thinking the other night with senior night. You know, you had every one of those guys that had never played a second for Indiana the year before, which was odd in and of itself. That has never happened. But it got me to thinking that Indiana cannot have a 4-year graduating senior again on senior night for 4 years. It's not Trent Sisley is Indiana's only hope. Well, Trent and a couple of the other freshmen, but Trent Sisley, though, he's an Indiana kid. So that's what you think of, because right now, the last players remembered that will be remembered as being quote unquote Indiana players that graduated or Anthony Leal and Galloway. I mean, that's the group. That's it. Those guys who, stayed there for 5 years even, but they were there. Those two, because they were there the whole time, and that's it. So that tradition is ended for Indiana, and it can't start again for 4 years. That's crazy. It's not Zach. I was just actually talking about the craziness of the other night when we saw all the graduating seniors, and not one of them had played a minute for Indiana prior to this season. And Indiana cannot have a graduating 4-year senior again unless Trent Sisley stays the course in 4 years from now. So, but that's not a major issue right now. Their issue is making the NCAA tournament, and they have an opportunity to do that. They played a very complete game against Minnesota, a team they probably shouldn't have lost to, and we may not be having this conversation had they not lost that game. But we are where we are. They're going to Columbus to play a team that's been playing well. Ohio State has solidified their spot in the tournament, and you're on the road, so that's a tough ask in and of itself, but it's an opportunity.
No, it is. I mean, I think Indiana's got to win this game, frankly. It's very hard for me to imagine a world where Indiana loses this game and, without obviously something uncharacteristic in Chicago, playing to Saturday, maybe to Sunday, where Indiana can make the tournament. I was saying before my computer started fouling up on me, I don't fully understand why the computers love Ohio State the way they do. This is just kind of a permanent state of affairs to me. I don't if you look at their last 8 to 10 years, I don't see enough gap in the metrics to understand why Ohio State is, I think, 14 spots higher in KenPom than Indiana. If anything, I would argue Indiana's got some better wins, particularly away from home. I mean, Ohio State's best win away from home is probably at Northwestern. But one way or the other, from Indiana's perspective, I think, the gap between sort of Indiana's tournament outlook with a win in this game and Indiana's tournament outlook with a loss is substantial. I think a win, and I don't know if necessarily Indiana is locked into the field, but I think a win probably puts Indiana on the right side of the bubble as things stand. And I think a loss probably makes it very hard for Indiana to just because we tend to overweight conference tournament games, because they are the last thing that happened right before the selection show. Right before Selection Sunday, we tend to overweight the importance of conference tournament games. The committee can't do that. Now, the committee says it treats all games equally. It is also fair to say the committee begins drawing up its bracket on Wednesday night. That is just kind of the reality of, now that's, to be clear, that's only a few teams, right? And that's only maybe starting to sift through some seed lines and things. But the committee's got to have, by Sunday, basically every bracket it needs more or less done. So the committee will exit Saturday night, or at least sort of come into Sunday morning with a bracket for every contingency, every single possible. If this team wins this game, there's the bracket. If this team wins that game, there's the bracket, etc. The point is, the committee physically cannot overweight conference tournament games, because they can't just rip up a bracket and start over. And then the other part of it too is, we tend to, a team wins 2 games in 2 days and it feels more meaningful. Because we've watched that team struggle to win 1 game in 2 weeks, at some point earlier in the season, because they're a bubble team and they've struggled and whatever. Indiana's probably going to get a quad 3 game to start play, maybe a quad 2, depending if it's Northwestern, could be a quad 2, to start playing in Chicago. Then they'll probably get a quad 1. The point is, you're going to have to dodge an unhelpful loss before you even get a chance at a quality win in Chicago. Then you're going to be playing on no rest against teams that are rested at least through Friday. It is hard for me to imagine a world where Indiana can lose to Ohio State and make the tournament any way other than probably playing all the way to Sunday. Maybe not winning Sunday, but certainly playing all the way to Sunday, which obviously is very difficult. If Indiana beats Ohio State and then let's say beats Northwestern on Wednesday, that might be enough. And then you're playing for seeding and you're trying to get out of Dayton and whatever else. I mean, this game does feel substantial, frankly.
Absolutely. And it kind of has been the last couple of years. This has been one of those pivotal games. And I agree with you exactly. If they win that game at Ohio State, because the computers have liked Indiana, not as well as Ohio State, but they've liked them most of the year. They just dropped that loss to Northwestern. That alone may have knocked them out. And I know that there were some other things they could have done, not losing at Minnesota, not coughing up the 16-point lead against Nebraska. But and you can always point to little things here and there. But there's no doubt losing at home to Northwestern was almost a death knell. And when you do something like that, you have to make up for that. And that's not just a normal win. That's winning against a tournament team like Ohio State on the road. And if they do that, I think that they're back in, but they have to win that first game in the tournament, like you said, to stay in. And I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. We've seen this team play many times in games that were quote unquote must wins. And they are playing, if we look at their last game, it's the best game they played, not against the greatest talent, but they got what they haven't been getting, Zach. And that was scoring from Nick Dorn, scoring from Sam Alexis, scoring from Tucker DeVries, he'd broken out of his slump, but he's there as well. Connor Enright didn't score, but he did a lot of other good things. Still not getting much off of the bench, but they're getting more all around. And if they can continue that, then I give them a good chance of winning that game.
No, I think it's fair. I mean, this team was built to win by scoring. And, you have a top-line scorer in Lamar Wilkerson. Sometimes you have 2, when Tucker DeVries can kind of get going. I think it's helped that Indiana has kind of added Sam Alexis to that mix in the last few games, and it's worth saying Ohio State is not necessarily the best team in the post. Like if you look at their conference only defensive percentages. They're 8th in the conference in 2-point percentage allowed. Now they're very good at the other end, not just scoring, but drawing fouls around the rim. And that's something that obviously has been a problem for Indiana. But, they're I think it's the kind of matchup where you can probably get Sam Alexis going a little bit again. But it's just this team was built to win through scoring. It was built to win through offense. We saw that as far back as last July. And it just, it's not a team that is built either by its size, its athleticism, or its depth to grind out possessions and to win a low scoring game. And you'll have to win the occasional. I get that. And, it's not like Indiana's, absolutely never won. The Purdue game, you would argue, is a bit of a grinder, for example. But like I point out, and a lot of this is maybe choices about pace and so forth, but like the lowest number of points Indiana scored this season and won a game is 69. And that was against Incarnate Word in November. In Big Ten play, I think that number is 72 against Purdue. This is a team that wins by scoring. It wins by shooting well. It wins by sharing the ball, and it wins by getting multiple guys involved. Whether that's, maybe a night when you can get Reed Bailey's offense going a little bit, as you say, a night where you can get Nick Dorn's shot falling again, whether it's Sam Alexis, whoever it is. This team needs a third, and I would argue really in a lot of ways even a fourth scorer, frankly. And, when it can't get that, you think back to it wasn't that long ago, right? It was the Michigan State game. Lamar Wilkerson had 29, Tucker DeVries had 20. Neither one of them, I think DeVries maybe attempted 16 shots in that game for 20 points. Wilkerson had 21 for 29. It wasn't like either one of them was overly inefficient in that game. Nobody else was in double figures, and Indiana never really got it close. So that tells you the story right there.
Yeah, and for a team that's built on scoring, to only have two guys that average in double figures, that's not a good swing. And when your third leading scorer is been coming off the bench for some time, and you're not getting scoring in that position either way now. With, like I said, Connor Enright does a lot of great things, but scoring is not something he brings. Tatum Connerway is still at this point the third leading scorer at almost 10 points a game, although that has not been the case for him here of late. But what has been, do you think, the reasoning for not bringing Tatum Connerway back as the starter?
Yeah, I think I argued for a while, frankly, that, that Indiana, once it got Nick Dorn healthy, was going to be better off with Nick Dorn in a starting role because of the size he adds. Now, he's not really been much of a floor spacer, realistically. And if anything, he's really kind of turned into a very sort of specialized player. Like, he's taken 153 threes and 19 twos. That is extreme even for a player that was taking more threes than twos at Elon in the last two seasons. The thing I would argue as much as anything else is that Enright has been a really steady pair of hands, with the ball in his hands.
He does not turn the ball over.
He doesn't. His assist rate is really good. It's 28% in Big Ten play. Connerway's assist rate in conference play is better. His turnover rate's also, it's worth saying, a little bit higher. I also think, and I feel like we all kind of said this at the beginning of the year in different ways, and then you sort of forget it as time goes on. Like, there is not an instinctive understanding of Darren DeVries' system rooted in this roster, right? Because most of these guys are transfers who before the season had never played for him. The two guys who had were his son and Enright. And I think there's probably also any coach, and you can argue the merits of this or not, but I think any coach is also probably sometimes going to sort of run home to what they trust when they get to, big games, tight games, big possessions, etc. They're going to lean on the guys that they know best. And that's sometimes obviously going to be somebody like a Lamar Wilkerson, who you just say he's a winner, he's a scorer, he's a game-changing player. But I do think there's a little bit, in this roster too, maybe of looking at both Enright and Tucker DeVries, and sort of saying that that's probably also a head coach going to the guys that aren't going to miss a call or are going to have like and I'm not picking on Tate Conway, I'm not picking on anybody, Bailey, Alexis, Connerway, Dorn. But in those moments, if you're a coach, you want the guys that when you give them an instruction, a call, a set, whatever, there's an instinctive sort of second nature understanding of what you're asking them to do. And I think there's maybe a little bit of that too, that, it's kind of going small C conservative, and trusting the guys that best and that know you best. I think there might be an element of that as well.
Absolutely. We know what's up next for you Saturday at Columbus. And so make sure you're following Zach and checking out all he does. Appreciate you as always, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Absolutely. Zach Osterman joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Up next, our good friend Bill Bender from the Sporting News, our nation's oldest sports publication. It's Fun Time Friday, baby, with Bill. Back with more right after these messages.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games Sunday through Thursday, plus a new menu and next-level upgrades like private game suites and the high-flying human crane. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington on South College Mall Road.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
You're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area? You need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISP Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave & Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch your teams on the big screen and level it all up with the high-flying human crane. Private game suites and more, only at 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. And now we are joined by our good friend, Bill Bender from the Sporting News. As he takes a bow. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. How's your week been, sir?
Hey, Jim, I'm doing well. I may or may not have I don't know if this is objectivity, but I may or may not have a Ohio Bobcat shirt tucked under this pullover here for tonight's game against Miami. Be a hate to play spoiler here tonight at the Convo. I'm allowed to do that as an alum, though, right?
Yeah, you're not.
Okay.
This, so yes, no problems whatsoever, man. We're making the caveat known. Is this? I was going to pull up. Is this tournament? Are they opened their tournament yet? Because I know some do.
No. So tonight is the regular season finale for Miami and Ohio, and so the Redhawks have lost 14 in a row in the Convo. This is, I don't know how up you are on your back rivalry.
Is that, wait a minute, is that the name of the gym, the Condo?
the convocation center. It would be cool.
I thought you said condo. I was like, oh, whoa.
There aren't too many. There are not too many condos on Court Street in Athens. But no, the rivalry between Miami and Ohio has always been fun. I mean, it was a lot of fun when I was down in school. Wally Zerbiak was a decent shooter for Miami during the time. He led them to a Sweet 16 run. We have a good back and forth with the Red Hawks. I will say this, though. No matter what happens tonight or in the MAC tournament, I firmly believe that the Miami Red Hawks, I can't believe I'm saying this, they deserve to be in the tournament. They absolutely belong to go 30-0 and
I
do the
absolutely
thing.
agree.
I mean, they should probably be a 7 seed, but I think they'll be underseeded. But tonight will be a fun event, 9 o'clock at the Convo, and the Bobcats have a chance to spoil that regular season.
Well, they've had a couple close calls, but any team that does this has close calls. Any team that does this has to have a little luck on their side. I guarantee you, everyone, you go back, even the 76 team of Indiana, I promise you, there were games that they could have lost or nearly lost. So it happens. And that's what makes it so special, is to get through that and do it. That's why Michigan could not get through just the Big Ten unbeaten, and they are unequivocally the best team in the league. But there's always a night.
Yeah, well, and Indiana has, a viewpoint of, I think in my lifetime, the best MAC team, Mid-American Conference team, was that Kent State team that made a run to the Elite Eight with Trevor Huffman and Antonio Gates and Demetri. I was in college during that. So I got to see that Kent State team up close as a young beat reporter for the school newspaper, and they were really good. They were as good a MAC team as I've ever seen, because they had all the right pieces. They had a 7-foot center. They had Antonio Gates, a Pro Football Hall of Fame tight end. Trevor Huffman was nasty. I know you remember him. And then Shaw and Andrew Mitchell. They had like the ideal starting 5. And Indiana, of course, beat them. Tom Coverdale. I remember exactly where I was watching that game. Tom Coverdale had a night. And the Hoosiers were able to knock off that Kent State team. This Miami team has that vibe a little bit. I think if they got in the tournament, depending on who they caught, they could win a game or two, because they have 4 guys that can shoot the ball. So, yeah, I mean, it's very rare as an Ohio alum that you root for like Kent State or Miami. But when they have a special team like that, you kind of stick up for the conference a little bit.
Absolutely. You have to. I mean, why not? And it's going to be interesting to see what conferences do what this year. We know that the Big Ten, the Big 12 have been the 2 strongest. The Big 12 has an argument for being the strongest. With Arizona and Michigan, those are 2, boy, I just think how much fun this is going to be, because that Duke-Michigan game was a blast. We might get to see that again. Who knows? Yeah. But it's just, it is going to be I think it's going to be a hell of a tournament. I do agree that Miami deserves to be in. I don't care what Bruce Pearl. I mean, the funny thing about it is he acknowledged that to the nepotism of getting his son the job, basically, which is illegal, first of all, and ridiculous. But anyway, for him to then, on top of that, make a statement like that is so disingenuous, and he should not be on TV analyzing anything when he is clearly he's biased.
Oh yeah. Well, and here's what the history that Miami can make tonight. So since that Indiana team went undefeated and won the national championship, we all know about that team, right? There's been 7 teams since that have completed the regular season with an unbeaten record. We have an article about it at Sporting News right now. Indiana State, obviously one of those teams. In the seeding era, there's been 7. Indiana State, Alcorn State, a really fun St. Joe's team that had Jameer Nelson, UNLV with Larry Johnson. So we kind of ranked those teams. And here's the thing, and my esteemed colleague Mike DeCourcy pointed that out, with the exception of Alcorn State, which was transitioning to Division I at the time. The other 6 undefeated teams were all 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament. I had a buddy ask me yesterday. I was kind of going through the list with him. He said, "Wait, Indiana State was a 1 seed." Well, I was like, "Well, they had this guy named Larry Bird that averaged 28 and 15. He did okay." So this is the kind of elite company that Miami could step into tonight.
Yeah, mentioning the Indiana State team, to me, that is, it has to go down as one of reaching the championship game, nearly winning it, has to go down as one of the greatest achievements in NCAA basketball history because it was basically one guy. I mean, literally, I don't recall any team, period, much less one that was undefeated, that was one guy. It was Larry Bird. I mean, yeah, he had some other guys, but these were all mid-level players at best. Hell, I think one of them was on one of the high school team that beat my high school team in the semi-state. Anyway, it was one guy versus a Big Ten team with Magic Johnson, and they could have won that game, but that's still one of the most amazing things that's ever happened in NCAA basketball.
Yeah, and obviously when you go on a run like that, that's the interesting part. Some of these undefeated teams mid-majors, they're always searching for respect. Wichita State was doing that with that Greg Marshall team, coming off of Final Four, going undefeated, and then kind of getting worked by having Kentucky in their bracket in a second-round matchup. That was a loaded Kentucky team, and they lose that game by a couple points, and you go from there. But it is interesting. Miami, I don't know why there's so much debate because I just believe that they should be in. That's kind of where I'm at with them. And there
shouldn't be any question.
No, and then
I'm sorry.
And the bubble's not as sexy as it normally is. We've talked.
No,
about
it
that.
hasn't been for 2 years in a row. That's another reason. There's no question about Miami. We're sitting there fiddling over teams. Indiana's one of those.
Yep.
I mean, all right, you've watched the season. I know we can't really predict it, but what would you think about Indiana and Miami?
Well, I mean, it'd be close. Now, the thing with Indiana, and I broke down there, and I know you had Zach on the previous segment, and he knows more, obviously. But when you look at their kind of where they sit, I've got a post coming tomorrow ahead of the Ohio State game. Net rank 37, Ken Palm 41, RPI 64 means you're right on the nose of what they consider a tournament team. I think, for me, if they can if they win, they get to 500 in Big Ten play, right? That's one that's an indicator for me. I don't know if the committee looks at it like that, but I think if you can go undefeated in Big Ten play, I mean, there's a chance Iowa could be not undefeated, but 500 in Big Ten play. There's a chance Iowa could join them on that line as a 500 team if they lose to Nebraska. To me, that's one level of respect. Obviously, Ohio State's got a little bit better record in quad 2, but this Hoosiers team, they can get a win and win 1 or 2. It's kind of the same boat as last year. They lost to Oregon in the Big Ten tournament. They need to win 1 or 2, and then they'd be right there. So right now I'd take Miami over Indiana, but I've already kind of laid out why. But I would look at Indiana against some of these other bubble teams, and it's really close.
Yeah, just one thing, getting back to your column on the unbeaten teams, I have a qualm with it. You should have taken it back to 1975 because there was no team better than the 1975 Indiana team that went into the tournament undefeated but lost. Daggone it, Scott May.
Yeah,
Scott or is it Scott? Yeah, Scott May, and ended up losing Kentucky. But I think that they were probably the best undefeated team ever going, and that would end up losing.
Crazy that whether it's Indiana, UNLV, Georgetown, I would say there's probably a couple other schools that could get in this conversation that say
Bob Knight called that his greatest team.
That's
ever.
what I'm saying. Those three that I just mentioned, Indiana, Georgetown, UNLV, the team that didn't win it, a lot of people consider better than the team that did. And that's the wild part about March. You can have a team we did a list years ago of like the best teams that didn't win the tournament. That Ohio State team with Oden and Conley. I mean, they were crazy good, and they didn't win a national championship. So
those two guys should have been at Indiana as well.
Think about all the players Indiana didn't get that they should have. Gee whiz. Scott May, I just mentioned him. His son, Scott, gets upset with Indiana after they fired Knight, so he doesn't allow his son to go to IU. He goes to North Carolina, wins a natty. Todd Leary played with Eric Montross at Lawrence North High School. He goes to North Carolina instead. They get a natty. Boy, a lot of natties lost by Indiana. Larry Bird leaves in 74. Think about Indiana 75 and 76. He would have been, I don't know about sitting on the bench, but he wouldn't have been seeing a lot of minutes. But 77, that team after he would have been a junior on with Benson in 77.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Larry Bird and Benson, even though there was a
relationship there, right?
Oh,
I just saw the reel on my Instagram about that this morning. Your ears
was
there
ever
burning.
a relationship?
Yep.
It was funny in the NBA. He torched him. He freaking torched him, and he wanted on purpose. And that's the one thing about Larry Bird. After life, he's so humble and soft spoken and just kind. When he was playing, he was a freaking assassin. He would gut you literally gut you, both physically playing and verbally. It's just amazing.
For sure. And as when you do lists like that, these hypotheticals, and we've got a couple more coming. We got a couple in a week. We got one story in a week coming that you're really going to love. And I'll tell you more about it offline. I don't want to spoil it yet, but, it's that time of year for March Madness. We love these kind of stories. We love looking at the bubble. I love doing bracketology and kind of backing up Mike DeCourcy at Sporting News at this time of year. So we'll have plenty of content here over the next couple days. We do look at Indiana on the bubble here. I think we'll have something tomorrow ahead of this Ohio State game. It's a big one. It is, as Mike, I think, told me.
Well, I'll tell you what, when we come back, we'll
Yeah.
talk about that and the tournament, what it may take. We're going into the conference tournaments starting next week. I mean, this is it. People, you would think with one game left, you can't do a lot. Not true. You can change some minds. Hey, we've got the great Bill Pender from the Sporting News with us. Got more coming up right after we take a small break. Back right after these messages.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games Sunday through Thursday, plus a new menu and next-level upgrades like private game suites and the high-flying human crane. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington on South College Mall Road.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
You're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area? You need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave & Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch your teams on the big screen and level it all up with the high-flying human crane. Private game suites and more, only at 731 South College Ball Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. It's a good-looking one out there. Jim Coyle with you as always. Thank you so much for being with us, and glad to have our good friend Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Make sure you're giving him a follow all over, whether it's just grabbing his great content from the Sporting News or on Twitter at BillBender92. Speaking of which, you can follow me as well at Jim Coyle, ISB. Just get your phone out now and hit that up. Bill, we were talking about, I don't know, Indiana this weekend, I think. Columbus, going to Columbus, having to beat Ohio State, who's playing pretty well right now. As far as matchup, I wonder if they have what they'll need to match up with them down low, because that has just been the nemesis.
Yeah, Ohio State's got some decent size. Obviously, Devin Royal playing well. Thornton, there'll be an emotional game for him. He's a guy that's really meant a lot to the Ohio State program, 4-year guy. You know what Bruce Thornton means to that program when you hear other coaches praise him, whether it's Matt Painter or Tom Izzo in these games that Ohio State's played in the last few weeks, and what Thornton is. He's kind of, 4-year guy, hasn't played in the tournament, I don't think, but if he could lead that team to a tournament run, that would be an accomplishment for the Buckeyes. They are a little bit of a dangerous team. Diebler's got them playing well. They've bumped up from the bubble to I've seen them projected as an 8 or a 9 in some brackets. So that tells you what kind of ball they've been playing the last month.
Yeah, and that's going to be good for him, because if they had just stayed at that Mendoza line like they were last year, that they would probably be looking at him. But they have played well here at the end when you need to be playing well. And Indiana has a great opportunity. And they played very well against Minnesota, but part of that was because Minnesota didn't really have anything to stop it. They had a great play from one guy, and they didn't have anything surrounding them. How Indiana lost to Minnesota earlier in the season at Minnesota, that's mind-boggling, and something that would probably prevent this conversation from even being had right now. But what will Indiana have to do to beat Ohio State on Sunday?
Well, you're obviously going to have to get off to a good start. Like Zach was saying, you got an elite scorer, right? So he's going to have to play well.
He's the biggest scorer that Indiana has had in 31 years, Bill.
That's crazy.
Since Alan Henderson. Alan averaged, I think, 23.5 points a game. Lamar is at 21-1. Now, in Big Ten, he's at like 23-something. He's been lighting it up here of late. So hopefully they can get him going. But he hadn't been getting enough help. The last game, in that Minnesota game, they did get that help. They have to have that same production if they have any hopes or chances of winning that game.
No, yeah, and you know what Zach was saying earlier in the last segment was something I was preaching to 6th grade girls this year when I was coaching. You're better when you share the basketball. You have multiple people scoring, that kind of thing. Obviously, when you get, I'm looking at it right now. Give me 1 second. When Indiana has more than 20 assists in a game, they're 8-1. That's a simple stat that translates. So if they can share the ball a little bit, get assists, get out and run, and it doesn't have to be just Wilkerson and try to break down this Ohio State offense. But again, stopping Thornton, stop getting on the glass, doing those kind of things, that's going to be key in a game like this. The stat I always told my girls this season, our season wrapped up a couple weeks ago. I always looked at the scorebook after the game. This is a true story. And I said, in games where we had 6 or more girls score, and this is 6th grade girls, 6 or more, we're 16-2. When we have less than 6 score, we were something like, I think, 3-7. So I said, you tell me which one works better. When we share the ball and get up and down the court and everybody scores, and I would tell them, I don't care who leads the team in scoring. Does this work in Division I men's basketball? I mean, you need Lamar to play well, obviously, but if they share the ball and get a lot of assists, they're going to have a better chance to win in Columbus, which I anticipate will be a pretty, I don't know if hostile crowd is going to be the right word, but it's senior day and all those things. It'll be an emotional crowd. They'll be fired up.
Yeah, they're ready. I mean, their team's playing well. I'm sure that win over Purdue, which has been a couple of games ago, but big game. It really sparked them. Now they storm the court, which I'm really over storming teams that are that's going to be a 4 seed in the tournament. That means they're ranked inside of the top 28 teams or 16 teams. I mean, wow. Ease up, people, especially a Big Ten. Had that been even a MAC school that did that, okay, I get that. But, dude, you're a Big Ten school.
I'm not. I've always thought
doing
court storming should be reserved when you beat either you end. I think my 2 rules were either you end like a prolonged streak against a rival, like if you say Indiana Purdue probably doesn't fit, but for the sake of this conversation, if Purdue had won 20 in a row at Assembly Hall and Indiana beat them there,
yes,
then you storm the court, or you beat number 1 when they're in your house. That's generally
absolutely,
and but it still has to be. I'm not talking like North Carolina and Duke number 1. I'm talking like had Iowa beat Michigan last night on senior night, and Bennett Sturts hits that 3 to tie the game at the end of the regulation, they go win in overtime. It's probably acceptable court storming.
I was a little surprised to see North Carolina storm the court when they beat Duke.
Correct.
Even though it was in dramatic fashion, I'm like, really? Come on, man. You guys have won 6 freaking national championships. What the hell are you doing?
Now, and here's the thing, why this conversation, I've had it for 10 years because it translates to football. And this is what I've always said is I lay out my rules. Here's why you should. I understand they're in college. But now the dynamics have changed because players are being paid now. All it takes is one player to get hurt. One that's being paid. They don't storm the court in the NBA and they don't storm the field in the NFL. And with good reason, because they have assets on the sideline. And now that these players are being paid, all it takes is one college kid hauling off and tearing the ACL of a Michigan starter or
and
whoever.
it will happen one day.
It's going to happen, and that will be the end of court storming at the college level. Right, that moment.
Which we already had. Well, in that Duke situation, Duke North Carolina deal, John Shire said that one of the, I don't know, their staffers or someone was knocked to the ground or whatever. We had John Calipari complain about that when they lost Indiana a long time, which I think that was just sour grapes. But I agree what you're saying. I think that schools have to make every effort to say, hey, here's a path that you can't get in. Just stay in here and you'll be fine. But just end it. Stop it, people.
Well, people I'm like the old man about that, and I would just say, well, so a couple of years ago, real quick, Notre Dame lost to USC or beat USC, and they stormed the field. They had kids on the field, and somebody was trying to take a selfie with Caleb Williams just to put it on TikTok. And I'm like, man, Caleb Williams is within his right to throw a punch there. You know what I mean? And you're asking them to show restraint when others don't have to. I'm trying not to be an old man. I know college kids have fun. I went to OU. I had plenty of fun. Hopefully they have some fun on Court Street tonight. But you get what I'm saying.
Absolutely. There's truth to it. And I don't want to be the old man yelling at the moon either, but you got to recognize what you have to recognize. Trying to look forward to the big games coming up. I wish I had a daggone top 25 instead of got the whole stupid thing here. But I'll first just kind of go through them. I'm going to go to the Big 12 first. Let's see. That's Friday, so that's nothing. But on Saturday, Houston goes to Oklahoma State. Iowa State. Kansas hosts Kansas State. Cincinnati at TCU, Utah at Baylor, Texas Tech at BYU, Arizona at Colorado. I don't see anything. Houston at Oklahoma State and Arizona State at Iowa State, probably the 2 juiciest games there.
Yeah, not a great, Texas Tech's playing well without Toppin. BYU hasn't played well in the last couple of weeks. So that's probably the Big 12 game I'll keep an eye on. I think, not to skip ahead, but the SEC's got a couple good ones too that are not North Carolina Duke, of course. You've got Florida and Kentucky Kentucky's been up and down, and they're playing this Florida team that's trying to get a number 1 seed, and then Auburn, Alabama. I mean, at a certain point, Auburn in this bubble talk, they're 16-14, Jim. They're 16-14. Yeah, you play a tough schedule, but you've got to win some basketball games at a certain point.
Yeah, Alabama. Who's 16-14?
Auburn.
Oh, Auburn. I thought you were talking about. I don't see that they deserve to be in. This is not the toughest conference of the season this year.
No, Alabama's playing really well too. So I mean, they're up against Nate Oates and that Alabama basketball team. They're probably playing like the second best team in the SEC right now.
How about Arkansas?
Another really good team. So
I mean, I hate to toot John Calipari, let me tell you, but at the same time, it is what it is, and they're kicking ass and taking names.
Darius Acuff's playing as good as anybody right now. He is an explosive scorer. Of all these freshmen, he's very good. So, yeah, I mean, those are some good games on Saturday, and then obviously it spills into Sunday, and I think, a couple Big Ten games for you. Iowa, Nebraska. Iowa, I just said, trying to go 500 in Big Ten play. And then I always like putting Michigan State on. They get nasty, man. They just don't. There's Big Ten rivalries. I always say it, like growing up here in Columbus, I get what Ohio State, Michigan is. I understand that. From a basketball standpoint, Michigan State is far more nasty. They despise each other. And, Tom Izzo's got those guys playing pretty well now too. So we'll see on that one. That's always a fun one to watch.
It's going to be a great one. Illinois goes to Maryland. That shouldn't be much. Iowa and Nebraska. That could be a good game to watch. Now, those are all on Sunday. And I mentioned it. I said Indiana on Sunday, and I was wrong. Thank you for pointing it out, Justin. But that's tomorrow at 5:30.
Yep.
Wisconsin is at Purdue. That could be Purdue is struggling. I mean, I don't want to pound on them, but they're kind of struggling. They were down 9 to Northwestern when I was like, oh crap! But they ended up winning that game. That could be a fun one. That's at 4:00 on CBS. UCLA, who is a lock for the NCAA tournament, plays USC, who was a lock, but I think is out now, and they are like 3 games under in the Big Ten. But that's an important game. I don't think that if UCLA loses, it's not going to knock them out. But UFC wins, it's going to be weird. The metrics are weird. Northwestern, Minnesota, Washington, and Oregon. So those we don't care about. But, man, the Wisconsin, Purdue, and Indiana at Ohio State games, there'll be a little bit of overlap there. So you won't get to see the end of that. But lots of great games this weekend, man.
Lots of juice. And on the women's side, some of those automatic berths will be decided. I always like it kind of. I always make this joke, Jim. A couple of years ago, I was at a friend's house, and we're Blue Jackets fan. We have hockey around here, and I was like, "Get that OVC championship game on." He was like, we were arguing back and forth. I was like, "Look, the winner. This is kind of the unofficial start when we get that first bid in the tournament." I think Murray State was playing at the time, and I love watching these conference championship games and watching teams get in the tournament, punch their bid, and once that happens Saturday night with the OVC, we're off and running. I saw the buzzer beater by Lehigh last night. It was nuts. He looked like he shot put that thing in there, and that was great. That means we're here, and March is here, and it's a magical time of year. I enjoy covering it. It's going to be a lot of fun for the next 4 weeks.
Absolutely. Make sure you're following Bill and everybody else over there at Sporting News. Buddy, appreciate you as always. Look forward to it. Hopefully we can do it again next week, because it's going to be time to buckle up and get after it.
Anytime, Jim. Thanks so much for having me on. I'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate you. Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Big thanks to him. Big thanks to Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com, Zach Osterman from the Indy Star, and most importantly, each and every one of you. Without you, there's no reason for me to be here. I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you again on Monday. The Laskowski boys should be up for the post game for the basketball game, so you can tune in for that as well. Until Monday, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.